If you want to learn how to make beautiful cookies like this, you need to learn the basics of piping and flooding with royal icing. Piping means creating a border around the edge of the cookie with your royal icing, and then flooding means filling in the rest of it to create an entire layer of royal icing. So I'm showing you how to do some basic moves here. I have a laminated practice sheet that I'm working on, and I have my royal icing in a piping bag. This is a tipless bag where I don't have a piping tip in it. I just have a very small hole cut in the edge. So basically what you want to do is you want to touch your icing and the very tip of your bag to the surface, then lift up and pull your icing and then place it back down when you are done with your line. Here's another angle where you can see that. So I touch down the icing tip, I lift up, I pull back, and then I press down again, releasing pressure as I do. So it's important that you don't drag your icing on the surface of your cookie. You definitely need to lift up and off the cookie, and then you're going to pull that line where you want it to go. So here are some common mistakes that I see beginners make. If you squeeze your icing bag too much before you start moving, or again, when you are done moving with your piping bag, you'll end up with these little blobs at the beginning and the end. So you want to make sure that as soon as you touch down, you want to move quickly. Another common mistake is not moving quick enough and squeezing your bag with too much pressure. This will create a wiggly line. So your icing is coming out faster than you are moving. The opposite of that is if you are moving too quickly and you're not squeezing enough icing out, your line will break. So there is, and it's important to find a balance between the amount that you're squeezing and applying pressure to your piping bag and the speed at which you are moving with your hand. This is a balance that you will figure out over time. It just takes some practice. Now, if you end up with a lot of peaks at the end, like right there, what that means also is that when you are done, you're still squeezing your bag as you lift up. So remember to stop squeezing as you lift up. All of these things will become second nature over time. Now, obviously, we're not going to do straight lines all the time. So here I am showing you how to pipe a simple square. So I am doing my line, and then when I go to change direction, I touch it down and then lift up again. Now you'll notice I didn't do the whole thing in one move. It's easier to pull your icing than to push it, for example, and be able to see where you're going with the icing. So you may want to do it in two different sets, as I'm doing here. This way I'm not pushing the icing up on that fourth side. Now you can also work on a turntable with your cookie if you want to move your cookie so you don't have to move. Here I am showing you if I'm going to flood, I'm going to need a slightly bigger hole. So I'm taking the same icing and I'm cutting a slightly bigger hole in my piping bag. So that way now I can flood. So when you're flooding, you'll notice I'm putting out a lot more icing at once. I'm doing this by moving slowly but squeezing my bag with a lot of pressure. I also pretty much have the tip of my bag right in the icing. This way the icing is going to kind of fill around where the tip is, creating this really thick line. This is a 15-second icing, which means I can use it for piping and flooding. So with just a little shake or a little maneuvering with a scribe or toothpick, I can get it to fall flat in a flood. Let me show you now how to do a circle. Cookiers joke that circles are the devil. It's hard to make a completely perfect circle with icing because, well, guess what? We're human, not robots. But you'll want to move slowly. And again, do not drag your icing. Just have faith that the icing will follow your hand as you move around the circle. When you get to the end, you touch down to where you started. If you have a peak, you can just take your scribe and just press it down slightly. When you're doing filling, flooding, one thing I see a lot of beginners do is they don't put down enough icing. So let's say I don't really fill the whole thing, and then I need to use my scribe to manipulate that icing to flood the entire circle. But by doing this, I'm adding a lot of air into this, and you're going to end up with air bubbles. You also probably won't end up with a completely flat surface. So be sure to put down enough icing. Now to do dots, you're going to hold your icing in place and then just keep squeezing until you get the circle that you want. So keep your icing bag stable and just keep your tip basically in the icing and keep squeezing until you get the dot size that you want. What you don't want to do is pull up as you keep squeezing. So that's when you're going to get these little peaks like I'm doing right now. If you do, you can just press them down with a scribe, but if your icing's much thicker, it'll be hard to get that to look smooth. If you are doing a cookie that has a lot of switchbacks or curves, you want to keep your icing bag pretty close to the surface, so this way you can really control the direction of your piping bag. So here's a couple examples of me doing that. So the closer together the curves, like this scallop, you really are going to barely lift off. Now again, I'm still not dragging my tip in the icing and touching the surface of the cookie, or in this case a practice sheet, but I'm not coming that far up so I can really control the direction. Now here we are on an actual cookie, so you can see it in practice. So again, this is the same icing. This is a 15-second icing. We do have some videos on icing consistency, and we have a full online class that really takes you through it all if you are still learning about consistencies. But this is real-time piping. I know on Instagram and other social medias, we really speed this up because people's attention spans just want to get through to the end of the cookie, and you have about 20 seconds to do that. So this is real-time piping. So it is pretty slow. You'll get faster over time as you get more comfortable, but it does take a while. These are beautiful works of art that require some patience. So when I'm flooding, I'm going to start at the border and I'm going to work my way around. So when you flood immediately after you have piped the border and the flood will melt into one, and you won't see that border line. If you want to see the border line, you would let that line, the border, crust. So the piping border, you would allow it to crust before you flood the inside. So sometimes this is just an aesthetic reason why you might do this, or you might prefer to pipe all your borders if you're doing a bunch of cookies at once and then come back and flood them. And either of those is fine. It's really up to you. So anytime, if you have any air bubbles or any peaks you want to fix, you can take a scribe tool or a toothpick and fix that. Sometimes I'll stick my scribe right into it and press down on the cookie and give it a little shake. You can also pick it up and give it a little shake with your hand if you want to. But once you are done, you will let this dry. Royal icing generally needs to dry overnight to be completely hard, but it will dry lovely, and you can add some more detail on top if you want to. I hope you found this video helpful.